Hey family, welcome to Divine Destiny. I'm David.
And I'm Deborah.
We're here to encourage, equip, and empower.
So come on, let's get into it.
So we're on a mission, short. 30 minutes. So we've given you how we met part 1 and 2. That was a time span of
over the course of months.
We ended with April 7th, 8th when we met. Now we're going into
the deets.
The deets. Going from just getting to know each other to making it official.
Yeah.
So you want to start?
Yeah. So the day we met, so I got the prophetic word and everything like that. And people always ask me, like, what changed for you? Like, how did you get from, like, an absolute, like, no to, oh, my gosh, I'm totally in love with him. So this is how it happened.
With me. Whoa.
Stop. Okay. So this is how it happened. So this is how it happened. So after I got the word, it was Saturday night. And that evening, the last session that we had for the retreat, I found myself like kind of like looking at him sometimes when he was playing or whatever. And I was like, whoa, like I did not come here for this. Why am I being drawn to this guy? Like, I don't know. So that night happened. And then like at the end of the retreat, I'm walking across in front of the stage, everybody's saying their goodbyes to everyone. I wanted to go say bye to one of my friends, Raven. So I went over there to say bye to her. And then I saw that David, like he was nowhere in sight. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give him like a little more time to find me. So I was conversing with Raven. And then Raven literally tells me, hey, have you talked to David yet? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Because like at this point, Stephen had already come up to me earlier in the retreat.
And I didn't tell them to say anything.
Nothing. They did not tell him to they didn't tell him to say anything. Like, but at that point, like Stephen came up to me too. And he's like, hey, I think you should really like, give him a chance. Like he's a cool dude. I've never met anything like. There's nobody like David. So I was like,
why you have to say it like that?
So Raven asked me. She's like, have you talked to David yet? And I'm like, oh, like no, I haven't. Stephen came up to me and told him that I should, talk to him or whatever. And then Raven's like, you should talk to him. She's like, Deborah, he's awesome. He's this, he's that. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Okay. So I'm like listening. And this time I'm not completely sold yet. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just taking in the information. So I'm done talking to Raven. I walk back over to my friend group. And then I finally see that he's there over by his drums. And while I'm walking, I see him at my the corner of my eye from my peripheral. And I was like, is he going to say something? He's going to say something. So I'm walking. And when he finally says my name, I was like, huh?
And my intention was just to say, hey, woman of God, it was great to meet you and have a safe flight. That is all I was going to say. Did that happen? Absolutely not. Can't even remember how we segued into all of our conversations, but it was literally nonstop. I remember everyone is just kind of tearing down the ballroom chairs, lots of commotion going on.
Lots.
But at that time, she was the only person in that room. Like I've always said, the ceiling in that building could have burnt on fire, caved in. There could have been gorillas coming down on ropes. I wouldn't have been fazed. I was not fazed by nothing. And so we're just talking, having great conversation, kind of catching up. Yeah. It went from like 0 to 100. So like fast. It went from resting face to resting in the promise of God. My God, let that preach to somebody. So I want to say to the men out there, do not be moved by the resting face, okay? And I say this to women and to men because like women a lot of times they say I got this resting face, and it scares guys off. And I'm a firm believer that for the guy that is for you,
Yeah, it's
he
not
will
gonna scare him
not
off.
be
He will not be moved by
phased.
it.
So the resting face, I'm not saying that you don't need to work on it, but it kind of can be like a protection, you know what I'm saying, from the
And
wrong
it
guys.
was.
It was. But, you know, I boldly still walked over there and talked to her. And see how she's smiling? It's been like that since, even when she mad, she smile. But
That's true.
yeah, we
That's
love each other
true.
so much. So now we are conversing. We go to Waffle House with her friends. And then we go back to the hotel lobby. She's leaving at 4 a.m. I don't know about her. She was fine. If she had to go back up to her room after this happened, she'd been fine. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm finally here. We're able to talk. I don't want this to stop. But I didn't know how to say that without seeming thirsty. So it just ended up happening. We were able to talk.
I actually told him, I was like, do you have to go back to like get your stuff? I was like, okay, cool, I'll walk you. And then he's like, are you serious right now?
Gentleman Radar 101.
He's like, are you serious right now? He's like, you're not walking me anywhere.
And then you got to walk back by yourself after you done left me at the destination. As a man, I would not be able to sleep at night. So we ended up, did you say, hey, do you want to sit and talk?
Yeah. I was like, do you want to sit and talk? I was like, okay, cool. So we were looking. I was like, oh, let's just go talk over
In the
here.
lobby,
Like
in these
right in the
chairs.
front, right by the
Desk.
guest check-in.
Mm-hmm.
And we just talked in the lobby for like 3 hours up until I had to leave to the airport that morning. And it was awesome.
It was awesome. Shared some dreams and things that I had. It was just like two old friends catching up. It was just pure. It was just amazing, super easy. And yeah, from there, she went to the airport, got on her flight and all of these things. And while all this is going on, there were some delays in her flight. It's now Resurrection Sunday.
It was.
It was
Well, not exactly, but almost exactly a year ago that my flight got delayed and I wasn't even able to make it to Easter service. I was so mad.
Oh my goodness. But the Lord resurrected.
Oh
my God. What you thought was dead.
Lord,
he resurrected the
have
marriage
mercy.
promise in your Shatta.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So my flight got delayed and like we're messaging each other and everything like that. And he tells me, he's like, I would have, taken you to the airport or whatever. And then I'm like, secretly, I wanted you to take me to the airport. And he's like, what?
She didn't say that. What?
I told him that later on.
Yes.
But I told him that later on.
I think.
But of course, in my mind, that's what I thought. But I didn't tell him that. So then I was like, hey, I didn't want to be on social media anymore. Through Messenger, that is, because I wasn't on social media. So I told him, I was like, hey, here's my number. And I had a feeling that he was waiting. He was waiting
she
for
said,
me.
Don't make me regret. Let's not forget that. You said, don't make me regret.
Let me get to that part.
Okay.
Okay, so I had a feeling that he was waiting for me to, give my number to him because he didn't want to feel like, it was, being too pushy or anything like that. So he waited. He waited for me to do that, and that's what happened. I ended up giving him my number, and then I told him, hey, here's my number. Don't make me regret this. Do not make me regret this.
She's just playing that thing down so strong.
No, that's literally what I said. We will place the screenshot right here, and you guys can
She said, hey, would you like my number? Don't make me regret this. Like, it almost was
LOL.
like... It was
I added an LOL
okay,
in there.
thank you, LOL. So cute. It made me feel like, what? I replied, I guess. Like, what do you mean to make me regret
because I was so done with...
the dating scene was
at that point.
Hot
It
trash.
was hot trash. So I was like, I don't want any more hot trash. So we're gonna sift through the trash and we're gonna see if this is of God. Mm-hmm. So that's what we did. So after I got back home, we I sent him a text message. I was like, hey, it's Deborah. And we continued to talk for a little bit. And that Sunday, I remember that Sunday evening, me and my sister and my mom were out on the driveway. And that's when the Lord began to speak to me about him. About him. And that's when the Lord confirmed to me and gave me my yes for him. That's when the Lord ultimately confirmed it for me for good. And he said, yes, you can go ahead and get to know him. So that's when I sent him that text, and I was like, hey, I know I said before I'm not in a place, of dating. I'm not open, but nope, I'm open now, and I really want to get to know
This
you.
is April 10th. She texted me that. She had just got home. We ain't talked on the phone or whatever. And so she sent me that text. And then after that text, she says, hey, hypothetically speaking, you asked me to be your girlfriend. I would like us to do a photo shoot, and I want it to be nice, and I want to, go public and, share it for all my peers. I'm like, cool, let's do it. We'll do a photo shoot.
I was like, you can't say no.
She said you can't say no. And I said, hey, yes, I'll come to Dallas.
There's a vision that the Lord gave me for this.
Yes, there's
so
a
I was
vision.
like, I want to see this happen.
Okay.
So.
And it did.
It did. Beautiful.
So then within 15 minutes later, I get a call, and it's Deborah Patterson. And I was like, there's no way this is a mistake. She butt dialed me. And I literally waited to the last ring, and I'm like,
he did. I was like, oh my gosh, is he not going to answer?
I'm like, hello? She's like, hey. I was like,
hey.
I was like, you meant to call? And she's like, yes. We talked on the phone for hours. I even
Literally
got to talk.
Hours. Like, we're talking like 5-6 hours.
5 hours. I ain't talked on the phone that long. I ain't holding the phone to my ear that long. I even got to talk to her mother. She was like, that man sounds anointed. I was like,
he just had to brag on himself.
Come on, nah. So we're talking. That's the 10th. It was great. We talked for hours. The next day was the 11th. That is when she sent me a picture of the ring that she wanted. Didn't ask her for it. Of course, we're like 72 hours in, and she's sending me the ring.
But for context, the reason why I sent that was because we had already had a series of serious conversations. So this wasn't like I'm just going to flippantly do this. I got a yes from God, and I already knew that the Lord told him. He was just waiting on me. So once God told me, I was kind of like, well, God, if this is it. I mean, I did not have peace about sending him the picture of my ring. So I sent him the picture, and I was like, hey, this is the kind of ring I want. So, but at that point, we had already had a couple of serious conversations. We stayed up until like 7 a.m., 6 o'clock, 7 a.m., just talking and getting to know each other, and just, having those. We had some pretty deep conversations too. They weren't surface level
We were
whatsoever.
having prophetic activations and prophetic, what is the Lord saying to you right now? Go. Yeah. And I remember, like it was yesterday, she was like, I see this eagle, and like, this is amazing.
I gave him a word.
Praying. She gave me a word. So now let's go. April 11th, we stayed up, April 11th and 12th, we stayed up till 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, just downloading, just catching up, just amazing conversations. Was not weird at all. So now I want to fast forward to another amazing time, memorable thing in that first week that we met. It is now like April 14th or 15th. It's Steven's birthday celebration at the house. And so we're there, we're riding jet skis. All this is going on. Everybody's catching up. Jenny and Steven, how's everything going? All of this stuff. And we're having a conversation. And I told Deborah, I like you a lot. And so now to give context, me saying I like you a lot was my way of saying I loved her, but I didn't want to scare her. And I loved her before I knew her. I loved her before I already knew. And so she did love me as well, but she had a little pride going on that wouldn't allow her to tell me I love you first. I don't know why that would have even been a thing.
Stop it right.
Transparency, purity, authenticity. So
And no
what is wrong? What
lying.
is wrong? What is wrong with the woman saying "I love you" first?
That's not happening.
Why not? That don't sound like pride to y'all. It's not happening. But so we get into this conversation. I was like, I like you a lot. And she's like, is that your way of saying you love me? And I said, yes. And I said, I love you. And I said in the voice memo. And Rad was sitting next to me. And she's like, you don't mean it. Or she said something like that.
No. I was
She was like, no
stop
way.
it. I was like, are you serious?
And
then he sent me the voice message.
I sent her the voice memo and I said, I love you, Deborah. And Rad was laughing at me when I sent that. And so he's like, there, all right, cool. Did she reply? Did she say it back? She didn't say it back. And I said, it's okay. You know, I'm good. I loved her. She, you know, it's whatever. It's cool. So then fast forward, party's over. And I go home, you know, it's Saturday, getting ready for church the next day. I'm asleep though. I get this message, it's like 2:30 in the morning. Hey, David, I know you're sleeping. You know, you'll see this when you wake up. But I knew, and I just know now, and I just want to say I love you. I just can't wait anymore. And I was like, well, God answers prayers, and He answers them fast.
And I had to sit
Process,
on it. And here's the thing. I just don't throw out that word like that, especially in a romantic relational context. I'm not just going to tell someone I love them just because I'm in a relationship with them. I knew what those words would mean when I told him that I loved him. It didn't just mean that not only did I love him, I knew that I was going to end up marrying him. I knew that he would be the person that I would end up with. So once those words left my thumbs, because he didn't hear me say it, but once those words left my thumbs, I could not take them back. So that's why I didn't say I love you back right away. Like, I needed to be sure. That's why I took the rest of the day to pray, to think about it. And I was like, you know what? I love you too. I love you too. And in that moment, it wasn't even, I'll even go out on a limb and say this. I don't think I've ever told him this. At that moment, like, I felt like I liked him, but I didn't love him yet. But something in me knew I would love him. And though I didn't in that moment, I told him anyway because I knew my feelings were going to catch up. I knew that once those words left me, that it was going to end up happening, because people have to remember love is not a feeling. It's a decision. So in that moment, I decided that I was going to love him. In that moment, that was my decision, and that was me saying yes to him. Saying yes. I'm deciding to love you. And though I got a whole bunch of stuff going on in my life right now, I may not feel like I love you right now, but I know I will, because I know that you're the person that
Are you
God
okay?
has brought into
You sound
my
like
life.
you're about to cry.
Yes, I'm okay.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
So now we, at this time, we're talking, you know, it's been like a week or 2 weeks. And I asked her, like, how do you feel about me coming to Dallas? I was like, I want to come to Dallas. I would like to see you. Ended up buying my ticket. She thought I was playing, but lo and behold, I had bought that ticket. And so now, you know, we're getting here. I'm getting ready to come to Dallas. I ended up coming the last week, you know, and she now has to talk to her dad, you know, about everything, you know. And, like, here's the thing. There's an order in this house. You got to go through God, and you got to go through Mr. Patterson. Like, you need to be 2 for 2. 100 of 100. Perfect.
You can't get one
you
and
can't
not
get
the
one
other.
or the
They
other.
are a package deal.
There's a line of defense. There's a line of prayer and dreams. And it's hey, you will be sifted out like wheat playing around. Okay. So, I come to Dallas, you know, certain things are happening. It was just an amazing time. We went to the AT&T Center. We had dinner. We went to the aquarium. Yes, we went to the aquarium. Our first outing together was recreational, which we suggest. Do something recreational.
Yes, your first outing.
Yeah.
Don't do something so serious, and don't go to the movies.
Don't go to the movies. Prophet Marcus would tell you.
Prophet Marcus.
Stay out the movies. But seriously,
the movies is a flesh fest.
It's a flesh.
Amen. Keep yourself accountable.
Be real and be honest with yourself.
Be honest.
The person that God sends in your life, you are attracted to. You're attracted to. You're going to be attracted, but you better kill that flesh.
Don't put yourself in a situation to where you lack self-control.
Come on.
So no, don't go to the movies. Do something fun.
And if you can have a group setting so you have accountability,
don't go anywhere by yourself.
Please don't. Y'all just get
alone.
Yeah.
Be in public. Be out. Yes. Be in front of everyone. Make it fun, lighthearted. Like build that friendship connection.
Yeah. So we get here, everything's I get here to Dallas, everything's going great. I meet the dad or mom, sisters, a little bit of family. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing getting to talk with the dad. We're having conversations, confirming things. And so then we're going to talk about how Deb tried to change the plan of the Lord. So I asked to court. I asked her dad to get the blessing to court her and everything. And I get the yes. And it was just so amazing.
It was awesome. We were sitting there at the AT&T Plaza downtown, huge screen, beautiful night, so many people out walking, and we're on a bench, and he asked me to start courting me, and I said yes. And then I asked him, I was like, did you talk to my dad did you ask my dad if you wanted to start courting me? And he said no, but I was like, okay, my answer is yes, but you need to talk to my father. And then
we get home after a long night recapping.
We're like, well, not debrief, but we're recapping, and we're like,
she's
oh my
so
gosh,
corporate
we had
debrief.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm a businesswoman. But we were recapping, and we were talking about how the night went. We just loved it, and then
things changed. So it went from yes to hey, maybe wait till the next 3 or 4 times you come to Dallas to ask me.
I didn't say that, but I said, this is what I said. I said, hey, I have something to tell you. He's like, okay, what's up? I was like, do you think that possibly, I said something to the nature of like, do you think that possibly, what do you think about waiting until like next time, possibly asking my dad about courting me or whatever?
No, it was not ask my dad, because we already talked about ask my dad. You said, how about you wait till the next couple visits, which was 2 different things. And now I have to interject and get in there because now you in my so let's just keep it real. We got into an argument. Because, and I'm gonna tell you why we got in an argument.
He had a dream.
I had a dream, and I'll just say the frustration. A lot of times people connect frustration to just a bad thing. My frustration was like, there's somewhere that I don't like what is going on. I know what God said. Why is this not going? Let me figure it out. Whatever kind of sort of thing. So, long short, I had a dream before we went to dinner. Basically, Deborah was in my hotel room, and she's there in the mirror doing her hair, and it's 7:00. And I said, hey, dinner is at 7:00. And she's like, oh, I changed it to 9. And I said, when were you going to tell me anything? And she was just so unbothered, just curling her hair, drinking her cup. And I was like, okay. But I didn't think anything of it until we're like in this heated, exchange. And, the Lord brought the dream back to me. And then, we were going to meet up the next morning. This is the day I was flying out. And she wakes up. She was like, when can I come pick you up? Okay, she didn't say it in that tone.
I was like, hey, when can I was like, what time do you want me to come
She was concerned because she had 4 dreams.
Like, hey, I have 4 dreams. Like, I really want to talk to you about them. And he was like, okay, cool. And then he was very short with me. I asked him, when can I pick you up? And he's like, whenever. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, I had 4 dreams or whatever, like 3 dreams.
And I'm like, this is not going to end well. Oh, goodness.
He's already flustered, frustrated, the whole 9.
I'm flustered and frustrated. What were you?
I was scared.
Oh, she was looking for something to just send me back on my way, but it didn't turn out that way.
And like on our way to the coffee shop, this man had the nerve to have his earbuds in.
She was listening to some music, and I was like, I wanted to turn that thing off. We were just frustrated.
I had on Charity Gale. And this man was like, I'm not trying to listen to no Charity Gale right now.
A 15-minute drive seemed like 37 minutes. I got in the car. She was like, you ate breakfast?
And it was that song.
You ate breakfast? And I was like, nah, I ain't hungry. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh, it was so crazy.
We went to the coffee shop. We spoke. We, talked about our dreams. They obviously were a seed that was trying to be planted to cause division. And we worked everything out. It was great. It was peaceful. And so then we get back on our side of the town. We're at Whataburger. We're eating. And her mom calls and was like, hey, where you guys at? And she's like, hey, Dad came home on his lunch. He wants to say bye to David. And we're shocked.
I was like, what?
That this doesn't
I was like,
happen.
my dad, I was telling him after I got off the phone call with my mom, I was like, my dad does not do that. I was like, I know my dad. He's just not, especially a young man that he does not know.
Don't know
For
me.
one, he don't know him from a can of paint. He don't know where he
Can of
came
paint.
from.
What does that even mean? I don't even know you from a can of paint. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. What? I don't even know you from a can of paint. That's crazy. I'm sorry.
Okay. But he doesn't know him. So he's like, this guy wants to date my daughter. That sounds like a movie. But he's like, this, okay. But and then he came home and I was like, and then at that moment, immediately the Holy Spirit spoke to me and was like, he needs to speak to your father. And then I asked him, I said, in that moment, are you going to speak to my dad? He said, you don't even have to say anything. I was already thinking about it.
Yeah, and so we go back home, and he's talking. We're like, man, it was great meeting you. We had great conversation. And so I said, hey, Deborah and I, of course, we always want you a part of our journey. We communicate. We let our family and our accountability partners know what's going on. And so I was like, hey, I know we spoke, we met, but I would like your blessing to court Deborah. And he said, thank you, but you already had my answer when we were in that office talking. I was like, yes. And at that moment, there was just so much peace for everybody because, and I'll say, for me, I didn't come to just visit. I was on a mission. I knew that because here's the thing. He could have asked to court her. No, I was going to say I could have made it official or asked her while we're away over text, over the phone. I wanted it text, but phone. But I'm like, let me go visit her, meet her family. And I was on a mission to do it. And I knew that I had to do it now. I just felt that urgency. And so we did. And we're sitting here today. And there's so many things that now this is the beginning of us courting, which will come forth in the next videos. And so
our process and what that looks like.
A lot has happened.
A lot has happened.
Wow.
And I'll say, like, our journey, like, again, like, this isn't about us. We're here to encourage people. We're here to let people know that, hey, I know it's cliche to say, hey, God is in the details, but no, really, he is in the details. It's one thing to say it, but then it's another thing to literally start living it, to literally start living out the promises that God had spoken. Like, we are a living, walking testimony of what God can do, and how when you literally surrender your will, surrender your desires, he will literally give you what you need and what you want, but it needs to be in alignment with his will, and it will end up being far beyond anything you could even imagine. Some things you didn't even knew you needed, you will end up receiving.
You knew you needed people that the Lord would just bring into your life. Like, we are living testimonies. Well, I'll first say this. we are now living in a place of a fulfilled promise from words that both of us received 7 years ago.
Exactly 7 years
We
ago.
both have received prophetic words from 7 years ago, didn't even know each other, that were literally in alignment to our purposes. And that's
We were
another
going
thing
up like this.
in relationship and the Lord bringing you together, not only with people, but with your partner. There should be a compliment. There should be a
Yes,
compliment to your
always.
purpose, to your vision, and to
Yes.
certain things that
Yes.
you thought you knew by yourself or were only for you, but they complement, they come together. And that is one of the signs or confirmations that God is in it. God is in
Absolutely.
it.
And God will begin to bring people around you. It's like what I heard one of my leaders say is that you'll know where you're headed by the people God starts
God
to bring
sends you.
around you,
Yeah.
by the people God sends you. There are people that by God's grace that we've been able to connect with divinely, literally divinely through God and through kingdom connections that we've been able to connect with, that have even come alongside us. Some people we even look up to that have even piqued interest into who we are as individuals that we couldn't even have dreamed.
Yeah.
Like, like, oh my gosh.
And then it's like we didn't
love
force
you.
it and go
Yeah.
seek it out. God will literally put you on the heart of people.
No, literally.
Literally, dreams, visions, just certain things. And it's something about when you're in a certain place in life, it feels too good to be true, but it's really God.
Grace is favor.
It's really, and
It's
yeah,
his
we could go into a
hand.
whole other thing about
Oh,
just
man.
acceleration and how things happen so fast. And it's like,
Jesus.
you can't even process the last thing that happened yesterday, but
I'm about to speak in tongues.
but there's something about when God's hand is on it and the acceleration and things are happening so fast, you will be graced. What should have taken you out? What should have done whatever?
Derailed
you, detoured you, distracted you, you're graced. And there's an ease, and not only a peace in what you feel and your partner feels, but even
Everybody
everyone
else
around
around
you.
is gonna
Hey,
know the
David.
same
Hey,
thing.
Deborah. Hey, Jason, or whoever you are that may be watching it. You will have peace, and the people around you will be like, I know this is fast, but we know that God is on this. And we're going to continue to support. We're going to continue to cover you all. And just recognize the time and the season.
Yes.
And again, we're just here. We don't make this too long. We're just here to share, encourage, equip, and empower you that if God is giving you a promise or promises, you will see it. Do your part. God always does his.
Amen.
And so we thank y'all.
Thank
David
you
and
for
Deborah,
watching.
Divine Destiny, How We Met Part 3. So much more to come.
Yep,
and we
absolutely.
are so grateful. We appreciate
So
your support, your
grateful.
encouragement,
Yeah.
your words. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. David and Deborah on Instagram. Share with a friend. Share with a
about to get
family.
real.
If you've been blessed, be a blessing to someone else.
Yeah.
We love y'all. We appreciate it. See y'all soon.
God bless.